Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Oh, good morning. How y'all doing today? Hope you're doing well. I am okay, man. Today is going to be. I'm very excited about what we are going to be talking about today because I want to talk about a lot of the things that have been going on um, in church world with leaders quote failing is kind of what what we say, and I'm just going to hit on it. I'm going to hit on it. I want to talk about what our response should be to that. I want to talk about what our response should be to when um, when we have leadership that uh, doesn't doesn't lead how they should. Before that, I would just like to say good morning. Good morning, Miss Kraus. Good to see you on Instagram. One of these days, I am gonna you're going to come over to you're you're gonna come over to YouTube. I know that you are, Kelly. Um, and I just know it's gonna happen. And just for you, Kelly, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you a link right now in the comments. And how's it sound? Is it sounding okay? Everybody good? Please let me know. I've got Roman on here. I've got IR Kennedy. It's not a bashing session at all. So I appreciate you saying that. Not a bashing session, but it is, um, you know, as you're saying, a bashing session. I'm not sure who I'd be bashing, but it is. This is more of a session, or um, this is going to be about how do we respond to when um, how do we respond whenever leaders it's quiet on y'all's end. Okay, let's work on that. I appreciate that. It's quiet. We don't need quiet. How's that sound, Miss Plate, Miss Kelly, Leisha on Facebook saying it sounds good. Hey, Leisha, good to see you. Renee, good to see you. So many mixed emotions about this. Yes, and we're gonna talk about that. IR Kennedy, you can hear me good on X. It's still quiet on your end, man. Well, guys, I'm a rookie at this. So, Stan, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for the call the other day. Slightly better. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. I really don't know what I'm doing. So, you know, I I don't know. If you guys are on YouTube, those that are on Instagram saying it's not loud enough, I think it sounds good over on the Facebook. So today I'm gonna hit on um, I am gonna hit on Stan Howard. Good. I'm not gonna hit on Stan Howard. Stan Howard's a good man, but I am gonna talk about uh, some things that uh, need to be talked about in when it comes to when a leader uh, fails in ministry or when a leader just period fails, and how can we navigate that. And if you do have any SA uh, in your past, and the reason I've got to use letters is because YouTube and Instagram don't like whenever we talk. I want you to think about something real quick before we get going. Here's what's crazy. YouTube, Instagram, all the algorithms, they don't mind whenever people get on there and they look at certain websites and they do certain things that are not good. They don't mind that at all. But you know what they do mind is when you start talking about healing, when you start talking about SA or physical A, or when you talk about anything like that when it comes to healing, what they do is they suppress the message. I mean, I've got some posts that have hit thousands of people, and I've got some that have hit two. So it's pretty sad that we are not even able to heal when it comes to using social media. But whenever we're wanting to get stuck and to become addicted, social media just opens it wide up. I think that's interesting, but that's okay. Uh, it is what it is. So today, I am going to be talking about. I'm going to focus on one leader that has recently, uh, I guess, come out, has been exposed when it has come to some SA that happened a long time ago. And I'm going to read the statement, and then we're gonna go from there. I'm going to talk about some things that we can look at, some things that we can work on. How do we deal with it as a someone going to church? How do we deal with it if you're a staff member on a church that is currently experienced some things? And so I just want you to think about this statement. When an institution or a person consults image consultants and attorneys who protect the institution, that institution can no longer be considered a place of healing for the wounded. Let me just say that again. When an institution, when a or a person has to consult with attorneys, has to consult with people that are going to protect the institution, that place uh, can no longer be considered a place of healing. Because when the victim becomes the bad guy, when the victim becomes the bad guy and the perpetrator is defended and protected, that's a problem. That's a problem. When the victim becomes the bad guy, when the victim becomes the bad guy and the perpetrator is defended and protected, that's a problem. And that's called DARVO. And we're going to get into what DARVO means. DARVO is it's an acronym for deny, attack, and reverse. Deny, attack, and reverse. And we are going to we're going to talk about that. So, um, I believe that God is doing a holy house cleaning, if you will. I do. I believe it with all my heart. I believe that what's happening is it's a holy house cleaning, and you know, well, Michael, why do you say that? Well, I can just see it. I can just see it, and there's going to be more. I believe there's going to be more. I mean, just this week alone, there's been five this week alone, five leaders in spiritual organizations that have been exposed for things from their past that either they hid or the people that they put around them hid for them. And if you go back to my previous my previous live video, I actually talked about that. I talked about a problem is that organizations, churches, whenever a leader has done something that's not right, what they do is they put people around them. You call them elder board, you call them deacons, you call them whatever you want. And what they do is they put it under the rug, and then they put furniture on top of the rug, and they protect it in the name of tradition. And so, but I just want to talk about that today. I want to talk about that, and I'm going to read right now. I'm gonna pull it up, and I want to show you an article. And there's stuff in this article. If you have SA in your past, if this is something that has been that you've experienced, then this may be somewhat triggering, and I'd like for you just to turn this off, because the last thing I want you to do is to be triggered. And as somebody who has experienced SA and also spiritual abuse and also PA, I get it, and this can be hard. And I feel like the Lord is asking me to show people how to walk in freedom from these different types of abuse. So, and ultimately, I'm not just a YouTuber or coming on here live to talk. I'm getting on here and letting you know that if you need anything, please let me know and reach out. I want to be here for you. So I'm going to open up this article right here. So in this article, this is about Pastor Robert Morris confesses to moral failure after woman claims he began molesting her at age 12. So Robert Morris, founding pastor, Gateway Church in Southlake, Texas, which blah, 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 has a lot of people. has confessed to inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady. Now, that's something you need. If you're on here and you're taking notes, if you're available, I want you to just to understand that language right there because it's very important for us to understand when with language, especially when it comes to churches. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Has confessed to inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady more than 35 years ago while he was a young pastor. After a woman accused him of SA her over multiple years, beginning when she was 12. And if you look at his quote, it says, when I was in my early 20s, I was involved in inappropriate S behavior with a young lady in a home where I was staying. And I'm not going to keep reading that because it is pretty uh, brutal. This happened on several occasions over the next few years. Morris said in a statement to the Christian Post after Gateway was asked about the allegation. So he says, um, I'll just say it. We're in a home where he was staying. It was kissing and petting and not intercourse, but it was wrong. This behavior happened on several occasions over the next few years. So that's Morris saying that this did happen. So in March 1987, the situation was brought to light. It was confessed and repented of. I submitted myself to the elders of Shady Grove Church and the young lady's father. They asked me to step out of ministry and receive counseling and freedom ministry, which I did. Since that time, I have walked in purity and accountability in this area, Morris added. He explained that he returned to ministry in March of 1989. That's 2 years after his abuse was exposed with the blessing of the survivor's father. Notice he's saying, I have the blessing of the survivor's father and the elders of the church. He further noted that he and his wife met with the survivor and her family in October of 1989. I asked their forgiveness and they graciously forgave me. Okay, so you hear that, and all great. Actually, it's horrible. But what he is saying is, yes, this happened. But the accuser, Cindy, comes out and says that she was not a young lady. She was 12. And this happened for many, many years. And she was an innocent 12-year-old girl. And right here, her and her family first met Morris at a youth revival, Tulsa, Oklahoma, all the things. And then when he visited, things happened, and then she gets into actually what happened, which is awful. When she turned 16, said Morris would take her out in his car and try to do things. So all these things are happening over time. And then what happened is this, and this is the part I want to talk about. So you have Morris saying, yes, these things happened. Okay. So you have the perpetrator at the time saying, yes, these things happen. And he goes out and says all this stuff. Very prominent Christian leader, prominent pastor, all the things, a lot of numbers, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? But what the problem is you see what she said. My father never gave his blessing on Robert returning to ministry. My father told him he's lucky he didn't kill him. I'm mortified he's telling the world my dad gave his blessing. Of course, we did forgive him because we are called to biblically forgive those who sin against us. But that does not mean he's supposed to go out without repercussions. And here's what's already happening in the comments is people are like, Michael, you don't know the whole story, da 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 da, mega, blah, 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 blah. And that's typical for people to start protecting, a spiritual leader. But here's what you need to understand. This, quote, spiritual leader did that to a 12-year-old when he was a pastor. And now he is a pastor. So for everybody that's saying, man, you don't know the whole story, all the things, I don't know the whole story. But I do know she said it happened. He said it happened when she was 12. And now he is back in ministry, which I want to talk about. Because what happens with SA and spiritual A is these leaders are put into high places, and then we look at them like they're higher than everybody else and they're better than everybody else, which they're not at the foot of the cross. Just because they have a title doesn't mean they're better than anybody else. We're all on equal footing when it comes to Jesus. But then they are protected. So much so that this lady, she said that she asked the church. She sent an email and she got an attorney and she asked the church, "Hey, you know what? To make all this right, could you pay for all of my counseling bills? It's around $50,000." And that's not much money when it comes to somebody who is hurting. If she was just hungry for money, she'd ask for millions. That's what I would do. I want millions of dollars. If I was hungry for money, she'd ask for $50,000. And here's what the church leadership came back. The attorneys of the church came back with this. They said that they will give that they offered her $25,000 if she signed a non-disclosure agreement, but she refused. Uh, they responded with, "Hey, you know what? We will give you $25,000 and a non-disclosure." So here's what's happening. The church just said, "Hey, we'll give you $25,000, but you can't say anything about this anymore." If you're at a church that has you sign or has people sign or has had people that left the church sign these non-disclosure statements, uh, you're at the wrong place. If a church is too worried about what this is going to look like in the public and they're too worried about protecting their quote spiritual leader, that's a problem. Non-disclosure. Why not just be open and honest about everything? And so, did she sign it? No, she didn't sign it, and no, she didn't get the $25,000, which is hard. So this holy house cleaning that I'm talking about. Here's so the question that we need to ask ourselves is, why was he still allowed? Why was he allowed to continue on in ministry? I mean, it's like putting a tiger into a chicken coop and saying, "You know what? Don't eat the chickens." And I know that he is forgiven, and she forgave him. That's great. But then he was put into a place of ministry, leading large groups of people. Guys, that's a problem. And that's what we're seeing in the church right now, is that I believe the Lord is removing the people that leaders put in front of them, that people put around them, removing them out of the way and saying, "Hey, let's just deal with what happened." Because now, look, I don't know. I don't know all these pastors that have things are coming out, but now at least they can really start to heal instead of cover. I mean, that's what it's about. And if again, we're going to talk about how to deal with this in a second. But here's what I want you to know is we need to remain in him. Remain in Christ. Even when you've been hurt, even when the church has hurt you, even when your boss has hurt you, even when all these things, you need to remain in Christ. And this is not a bashing statement as people are putting in the state, or as people are putting in the comments, I'm not bashing anybody. But the problem is that, well, we're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. I want to talk about DARVO. This word DARVO. It's an acronym for deny, attack, and reverse. And this is what happens when you have been abused, especially when you start becoming an advocate for those that have been abused. Here's what it does. DARVO is whenever you see a leader, when you see somebody that has abused you, first D. The D is deny, saying those accusations are not true. Just immediate denial. Accusations are not true. Okay? We don't see that here in the Robert Morris thing. We actually see him saying, "Yeah, that happened a long time ago. I've been forgiven. I was the whole family forgave me, and I made everybody aware, and that's what it is." Well, what we're finding out, because he wrote a book, and in that book, he actually says that he was only out of ministry for a month. And the lady is saying, "He never came to my dad, and my dad did not forgive him," all this stuff. So, DARVO, deny. The accusations are not true. The A in Darvo is this: the accuser is now the bad guy. The accuser is now the bad guy. So in Darvo, you have denial. Man, I didn't do that. Man, that person's crazy. That no way. That person is crazy. I would never do something like that. And then what happens, especially with spiritual leaders, is the people that they put around them like, yeah, that person is crazy. Why? Because that is a special person, right? That's a special person. They're not a special person, by the way, but they have been made to be this special person because they're put on a platform, because they are in humans' eyes at times they're put on this higher platform, and they are no different than any of us. When it comes down to it, at the foot of the cross, we are all equal. And so you have deny, you have accuse. The accuser is the bad guy, and then reverse. You make the victim the bad guy and the offender the good guy. You make the victim the bad guy and the offender the good guy. I mean, it is literally all just search. Whenever a victim comes out and says, this happened to me, that person is then made to be the crazy person. Especially if they have a past of mental, depression, anxiety, PTSD. Sometimes they're like, man, that's just, you got to watch that guy. And what that does, is actually victimize the person again. Because this person is trying to say, hey, this happened to me. And then the organization or the people around them says, hey, you know what? That didn't happen. Matter of fact, sign this form and I'll give you some money just to go away. That person is then victimized again. I mean, how hurtful is that? That is a massive way to hurt people. I mean, that's hurtful. How do you know that, Michael? I know. I know it's hurtful. I've experienced that. I've seen it. I've watched it. And we're watching it now. It's a massive power differential where they dictate what happens and they dictate the narrative, even to the people that are supporting the offender. I mean, then the victim starts to feel like, man, maybe I am wrong. Because now these leaders and these spiritual people and these deacons and these elders and all these people are saying, I am all these things. And man, it's messed up. It's hurtful. Again, we're going to talk about what do we do here in a second. But I want to talk about that Darvo, and you see it all the time. And you hear people say stuff like this. Well, we're all sinners, Michael. We're all sinners. You're right. We are all sinners, but we're not all predators. We're all sinners. Amen. But we're not all predators. And why are we allowing people that have predatory nature, even though they've been forgiven, even all the stuff, why are we okay with them being at this top level place? Why? Because they're charismatic? Why? Because they can speak really good? Why? Because people follow them? Why? Because they're narcissistic and they think they need to be in charge of everything all the time and they're always right and they can never have any other ideas that anybody else gives them? Why are we doing this? We're all sinners. You're right. We are all sinners. And I'm never, ever going to bring a lion or a tiger, predators, into my house with my children and just say, go pet the lion, go have fun. I'm not going to do that. If I know that somebody has predatory behavior in the past and they've been forgiven and all the stuff, I get it. Why would I take that person and put them back into a place like that? I mean, I wouldn't do it. But apparently, I'm wrong for that. Kelly Krause just says this happens in schools as well. It does. It does. Yes, ma'am. You're exactly right. And I know you're a former teacher, and I know you understand that. It does happen in schools as well. So what do we do? Here's what happens is schools, organizations, they take they use words like this: moral failure, moral failure, or inappropriate relationships, or young lady. Again, that Robert Morris deal, they use the word young lady young lady. She was 12. And we use words like they failed, they sinned, and we all make mistakes. Again, what happens in organizations is they take this language that is non-specific and use words that are very, you know, moral failure. What the freak does that mean? Moral failure. More that could be so many things. Or man, that we all sin. Well, some sin is illegal. Some sin is illegal, and things need to happen when that sin happens. Um, so we use the language as non-specific, and then we use those words like that. Even in they were having an issue with lust, and then what happens is the leadership and the deacons and the elders they stand up and they speak on behalf of the leader, and they say we are now rehabilitating them, and people are like, praise the Lord, we want our leader back. I only come to church for that leader. Only come to church for that preacher. Only come to church because that person's charismatic. Doesn't matter what they've done. I just like to feel good when I leave. And so we use we use this language about sin that minimizes it. It minimizes the sin and it generalizes it. And then what happens is we take these quote special people or people that have been told they're special. Think about this. Special people or people that have been told they're special, your boss, your leader, your pastor, the person that ministers to you, counselors, teachers, special people. So we take these special people and we take the sin or the words that have been used for whatever it is, and we just say it's going to be taken care of. And people are like, cool. Yeah, I mean, that person, you know, it's all good. It's all good. um, when there is a power differential, it makes it hard because so many times people they 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 just see this person for example. For example, and this doesn't necessarily even have to be SA. This can be also abuse of power. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard this before. If you've worked in a church or if you've in any you've worked in any you've led any organization. You know, when you help the shepherd, you help the sheep. Ooh, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this again. When you help the shepherd, you help the sheep. Meaning this, you you come to your boss or you come to someone lower than your boss and you're in there and you're saying, man, I this is happening, this is going on, or there's an argument and all this stuff and you feel like, man, I need to say something, I need this is not right, and then that other person says, hey, just hey, let it go, it's okay, just let it go, just let it go, and you went to this person and you're like, hey, I'm this is really not right. Well, just let it go. And remember, when you help the shepherd, you help the sheep. What the heck? Find that in the Bible. What happens when you hear when you help the shepherd, you help the sheep? What happens when you hear that? You think, well, I'm just here to help the shepherd. I'm just here. That's my job, is just to do whatever this person needs, whatever this person wants. And if they do something that's wrong, I'm scared to death to say anything because the people they put around them are also very powerful people. The people they put around them are also leaders in the community. The people they put around them also make sure that images looks normal. And then you leave and you're like, you know what? I can't. You walk back and you go back in your office, or you go back and you're like, man, maybe I'm just the crazy one. Maybe I'm just the crazy one. But you're not the crazy one. Man, I see what y'all are saying. Jenny Hudson, good to see you on here. Moral failure. How about criminal actions? And sadly, statistically, were more likely victims. There were likely more victims than just this one little girl. I agree, Jenny. I believe that what we're going to see is we're going to see more and more leaders. We're going to see more and more things that people are rising up and they're feeling Man, I can now speak out about this. And I believe, I'm just going to say this, I believe, based on what I am doing right now in my life with being a coach for people, helping people, counseling with people, meeting with people, and I've been doing this for about 22 years as a pastor. I believe that more people, and they are coming to me. People are saying, "Hey, how do I navigate this? How do I deal with this?" More people are going to come out and say stuff. They are. My man, Kelly Krause, Enneagram Type 8s, don't just let it go. I know, I agree. My man, Johnny Marks, the craftsman, cheering for you. Preach on. Appreciate it, buddy. Sophia Plate. I've unfortunately worked in places where Darvo happens all the time because they think employees are expendable and they will hustle, take their chances with the next person. Yes, for sure. Amen. Wendy Kerr. So, so here's what you need to know is that, again, I'm gonna get to so what do we do with this? How do we deal with these sorts of issues? And I hope I'm making sense. I hope this is making sense because in my mind it makes sense. And we're seeing the abuse of power in churches. Just know this. Please understand this. And this is where I think I have gone wrong. I want to tell you where I have gone wrong, where I have made the mistake. Is I have put people on platforms that they did not that they don't deserve to be on platforms. Matter of fact, none of us deserve to be on platforms. I have put people in places in my mind. I have put them up here like, man, yeah, they're legit. I mean, I mean, when you see a pastor or you see a person in public, what is your response? Have you celebritized them? Have you put them so much on a platform in your head that you're like, there they are. There's that guy. There's that girl. There they are. Have we done that? Because they're just people. That like when they sleep, they sleep just like us. They put their pants on just like me and you, one leg at a time. Have we put people and pastors and leaders and executives and your bosses in certain places in your mind that, you know what? Um, you know what? They're bigger and better than me. Head family says this. I've personally sat in leaders' offices, expressed real concerns about garbage going on inside the church, and been completely dismissed. Leaders need to be held accountable. Yes, leaders need to be held accountable. And it's hard for leaders to be held accountable when they've surrounded themselves with yes people who are also narcissistic and can't handle it. And we're seeing this. We're seeing it. And so back to what I was saying was how we need to take, and this is the mistake I have made, where I have put pastors, I've put leaders, I've put celebrities on places that they're not asking to be there, but we've put them. My man Troy on Instagram says, I remember the effort that you took to make sure you or your staff were never alone with a member of the opposite sex. Thank you, Troy. We worked very hard at that, and I still do. Work very hard at that. Because you're one accusation away. I used to always say that. One accusation away. One accusation. But what we're seeing is now those accusations can't be covered up any longer by the people that they've put around them. And so the accusations are actually coming to light. So I want to talk about now, what do we do with this? So what do we do? What do we do? If you have been hurt by, if you've experienced any sort of SA, PA, and know this, one in four people have been a victim of SA. 1 in 4. So what does that tell you? If you have been a victim of this and you have felt like I can't talk to anybody, that is the enemy wanting you to keep it inside, because I promise you, I have lived it. When you are able to let it out, and I'm not talking about on a platform like this, I'm not talking about on social media, I'm talking about when you can let it out. Maybe that's writing it down. Maybe that's going to a therapist. When you can actually let it out, the enemy loses the power in that pain that you've experienced. So when you get to talk about it, it becomes, you get to walk more in freedom. And that's what I love in what I get to do. I literally get to, yesterday, I met with somebody. It was, I meet with every one of my clients on Zoom except for one now. And as we're talking, this person is just saying things, and they said I've never said that before, and it feels so good. I've never said that before, and it feels so good to let that out. It's freeing. I've lived it. I promise you. When you're able to say whatever it is, and not just the abuse, whatever it is, when you're able to say these things, woo, the Lord loves that, and it's healing. So what do we do? I want to look at, let me grab John 8, 1 through 11. John 8. Let's see here. John 8, 1 through 11. Check this out. This is super. So what do we do? What do we do? John 8 says this, at dawn, in verse 2, at dawn he went to the temple again, and all the people were coming to him. He sat down and began to teach them. Verse 3, then the scribes and Pharisees, okay, those are the religious leaders. The scribes and Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery, making her stand in the center. Okay, picture that. The religious leaders, the religious leaders take this woman and make her stand in the center. And they say, teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. So what do you say? Are you with that picture right now? This woman was caught in adultery. The law of Moses says we need to stone the woman. So what do you say? They asked this to trap him in order that they might have evidence to accuse him. Jesus stooped down and started writing on the ground with his finger. Notice that. I think there's a lot there. He didn't start talking. He didn't start like using his mouth. He literally paused, which is something I teach my clients, the pause method of just like, let's just pause. Verse 7, when they persisted in questioning him, he stood up and said to them, the one without sin among you should be the first to throw a stone at her. Then he stooped down again and continued writing on the ground. When they heard this, they left one by one, starting with the older men. Only he was left with the woman in the center. When Jesus stood up, he said to her, woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? No one, Lord, she answered. Neither do I condemn you, said Jesus. Go and sin no more. So Michael, you're asking, okay, so how does that answer the question? What do we do with all these things and all these pastors and all these great leaders, and we find out that, man, things have happened and they're not who we thought they were or who they said they were? Because it's hurtful. It's hard. Does this mean we don't go to church? No. It does not mean we don't go to church. And I'm going to tell you why here in a second. Because, okay, so this woman was dragged out and thrown at the feet of Jesus. And it says that she was caught in adultery. Remember, these are the religious leaders. These are the ones that have it all together. It says that she was caught in adultery. Well, there's a problem with that. What about the guy? What about the other person? Not the man. She was caught in adultery. Are you seeing this? She was caught in adultery. Look who brought her out here. The religious leaders. Look what they did. They threw her at the feet of Jesus, or they let her stand. So who did Jesus at this moment protect? Did he protect the leaders? Or did he take a stance and protect the woman? Even though the religious leaders were there saying, man, the law of Moses, it says this. We've got this in our bylaws. We've this, blah, 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 all this stuff. And he writes down, he just puts something in the sand. Then he stands up and says, who are you to throw shade at this woman? I mean, he says, the one without sin among you should be the first to throw a stone at her. And they're like, yeah. Who did Jesus protect? So when we deal with these things, here's some advice. Here's Do whatever you want with it. But my faith is not in, my faith is in the one who sees the weak and the wounded. My faith is in the one who helps the hurting, not the one who says, I don't need help and I have it all together. My faith is the one who helps those who are oppressed. My faith is in the one who looks to those who need help. My faith is in the one who says, you know what? Who are you? If you've not sinned, go ahead and do it. My faith is in the one who goes after the one that has been oppressed, who has been hurt. My faith is not in the one who says, I've got it all together. I look perfect. I've never messed up. Very tight-lipped. My faith is not in the one who, quote, has it all together. Because if my faith is in the one, and if if my faith is in the one who, quote, has it all together and looks completely perfect and is never vulnerable and has people around them to guard them and to make sure that if someone does accuse them that they have to sign a non-disclosure and all this crap, my faith is not in that one. Even though I can see that one, even though that one is gifted, even though that one is very charismatic, even though that one may be, may know the scriptures better than anybody in the entire building. My faith is not in that one. My faith is in Jesus. I keep my faith in Jesus, not his people. That's how we can deal with these things that are coming out when it comes to the church, is that we have got to keep our faith in Christ. When we start to put our faith in the people, and we start to put our everything in them, we are just setting ourselves up to be really, really hurt and disappointed. Does it hurt? It does. This whole thing with Robert Morris, I'll just be honest, man. Awesome. The dude is gifted. I just wish that people would have been more honest years ago. I think also what we need to realize is the bride of Christ, the church, doesn't need special, quote, amazing, charismatic leaders to do anything. The bride of Christ is a hospital for the hurting. And I want to encourage you. It's okay to hurt. Because when we have people who are leading jobs, families, and they continue to act like they have it all together, that can make you feel even worse about what you're going through. Because you're like, I don't have it all together. And I get it. I don't either. I don't have it all together. And if you need to talk to anybody, if you need help, if there's something you need to get off your chest, man, reach out to me. I would love to help you. Also know this, that I'll just end right there. So what questions, comments do you guys have? Man, thank you for tuning in today. This was awesome. And I hope this helped one person. I really do. That's what I hope for everything that I do, is just one person can walk in freedom through whatever it is I'm doing. So we have moved to Tuscola, Texas, and we have visited 4 churches the past 2 Sundays. So it's been pretty fun. We have gone to 2 churches the past 2 Sundays, meaning on Sunday we go to a church early, and then we go to a different church late, and then we did that 2 Sundays ago. We did it this past Sunday, and we'll do it again this Sunday, and it's been really awesome. It's been really fun. So our sweet kids are just like, we're going to another church. Like, yeah, because we want to check them all out, and I've not really got to do that before. I mean, it's been cool. There's been some great. I've had some of the leaders of some of these churches reach out and go to lunch and ask me to coffee, and I mean, it's just been cool. They don't know us from anybody. It's beautiful. And then one of the meetings I had with one of the leaders was just so cool. It was just so awesome, and this person was so vulnerable and real. And I was like, "Are you? Are you? What is this?" And it was refreshing. It was really refreshing because what you need to know is that these stories that we're hearing, man, it's not everywhere. It's not. And some people will say, "Well, it's happening all over the place." I mean, no, it's not. The problem is with social media, it seems like it's happening everywhere because it's just in your face all the time and because you can't stop scrolling on all the things. And so you see it a lot. And so you start to think it's everywhere. It's just like war. Like, man, years ago, I had to turn off all my notifications because I was like, there's a war where I live with, there's not like, there's so many things happening all the time. And we get instant breaking news, breaking news, breaking. I mean, we get this stuff fast. Um, and so it seems like things could be happening, just it's so bad everywhere. Everything is awful. And it's really not. Zoom out. Zoom out from the situation. It's really not that bad. Zoom out. And what do you see? You see Jesus. You're like, it's really not that bad. It's going to be okay. And I encourage you, find a church. I encourage you, if you have these issues of trust, if you have these issues, and I get it. I 1,000% understand, and I've been there, and I'm still working through things. So I encourage you to find a church. Also, say this: if you're in a church and you're like, I've gone here my whole life, and I just can never see another church because I've gone here my whole life. Like, there's other places out there in the world. Oh, I'm way off topic. I'm way off topic. But it's good to be the new guy every now and then. When's the last time you were the new guy? That's tough. When's the last time you were the new guy? When's the last time your kids were the new guy? Well, we're always here forever. We're never gonna leave. That's great. That's fine. But why? Because you're comfortable? If you're never gonna leave, then stop complaining about the place that you're at. All right, I need to get off. I need to get off. I'm start saying stuff. I'm gonna just make people mad, and then I'm gonna hurt your feelings and all the stuff. So, all right, this was awesome. I hope it blessed you. I hope it helped you. I have no idea, but if I can do anything for you, let me know. I will say this. I will say this. If you're looking for a community of people who, man, you can be vulnerable and they can walk with you and help you. I'm telling you, the Circle of Hope community that I have, it is incredible. The price for it goes up on Friday, and here is a link for it. I'll put it everywhere. It's 7 days free. You can check it out. You can be like, yeah, this is great, or this is awful. I don't want any part of it. But the relationships and the things that are happening in this community is incredible. It's right now $14.99 a month, and then it's going to go up on Friday. So this is the cheapest it will ever be. And man, we're learning together. We're figuring this whole thing out as far as the community. How do we deal? How do we do it? What's it look like? So encourage you, if you're looking for a place to connect with other people, looking for a place to be loved on, looking for a small group of people that honestly are going to care about you. If you're looking for group coaching, I do group coaching in this group. I encourage you to get in it. If I can help you or a family with anything, please let me know. Have a great